This meeting of the Tennessee Wildlife Commission begins. I'm going to ask Commissioner Stan Butt to give the prayer and pledge, please.
Let's pray. God and Father in heaven, we thank thee for this day, for all our safe trips here. Father, we pray that we'll use wisdom in conducting these meetings. We had asked that you look over all of those who are affected by the floods and around our country. Father, we particularly thank you for the privilege that we have of serving for benefit of wildlife in Tennessee. And we ask all this in Christ's name. Amen. All right, pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all again for being here today to this meeting at the Wildlife Commission on July meeting. We have a few visitors today. I just want to recognize them and also other commission members. I want to thank Commissioner Andy Holt for being here today from the Department of Agriculture. Thank you, Andy, for your work. Mike Butler with the Tennessee Wildlife Federation. Thank you, Mike. Fred Walker, we'll be hearing from him a little later. And happy birthday to Rhonda Moody. Happy birthday, Commissioner. Yeah. Also, I'd like to recognize one of our new commissioners, Steve Johnson, over here to my left. Steve is from Bristol, Tennessee. He played football for Virginia Tech. He's a successful businessman, and we just really welcome him to the commission. Thank you, Steve. With that, we have minutes. Y'all all have minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, minutes approved. Mary, if you could call the roll, please.
Monty Blue,
Here.
Brad Box,
Here.
Stan Butt,
Here.
Greg Davenport,
Here.
Steve Jones,
Here.
Ford Little, John McCarty,
Here.
Rosemary McElhaney, Rhonda Moody, Chip Saltzman, Haynes Torbett, Steve Johnson, Chris Devaney. Chairman, we have a quorum.
Okay. Before we begin, commissioners, are there any announcements or anybody else have anything to say before we get going? Okay. Having said that, also, Director Maxedon, do you have anything to say today?
I do, Mr. Chairman. I want to kind of do a little bit of an opening to preface the meeting today, but just want to say thank you, members of the commission. Today, we're going to have two main items that we're going to have on the agenda. First is going to be changes to proclamations that require revisions, and this is due to the recent decision to withdraw the license rule. Second is going to be a rulemaking hearing, and that's to remove the requirement for proctoring the boating safety tests. Last month, we appeared before the Joint Government Operations Committee to present the rule to increase boat registration prices, which I'm happy to say was approved and is actually now into effect. The license package previously approved by you all, which included a few new licenses, adjustments to the existing license types, and increases to associated fees. That committee was the final step that needed for the license rule to take effect. However, during the meeting, it became increasingly clear that members did not support the license package. Instead, they expressed a desire to seek alternative funding sources rather than placing an additional burden on our license buyers. Obviously, that's a concern that you all and we share as well. So I wanted to highlight that we were encouraged to hear that many members of that committee were verbally committed to support legislation to carry bills in the upcoming session to help us fund this in other ways. The decision to withdraw the license rule had to be made in the moment. And I truly appreciate the commission's trust in me to make that call. That was a difficult decision that day. Since 2004, the commission has had the authority to set license fees through this rulemaking process, but those rules are also still subject to legislative approval. A lot of our folks don't know that out in the public, but they are subject to that. Their position was made clear that day. And while we all agree that the lack of funding will strain the agency short term, the committee meeting also helped us by laying groundwork for the foundation for a viable solution. And we hope, meeting with those members this fall, hopefully there's going to be a bill in place that helps us with that long-term sustaining model. As a result of withdrawing the license rule, the previous current license fees remain in effect. I'm going to say that again for the public. Those license fees will remain in effect, and there will be no increase to hunting and fishing licenses this time. However, during the spring season setting process, you all approved language in 2 proclamations that reference new licenses, and these proclamations now require revision, and that's what's going to be before you today. So next up will be Chief Joe Benedict, and he'll present those 2 revised proclamations. And then later, you'll finally hear a rulemaking hearing to comply with the new legislation passed earlier this year, removing the requirement for boating safety exams to be proctored. As you all know, typically for the boating safety exam, those were given by our staff or at a library with a proctored exam. This removes that. So it's going to establish the fee and process for administering those exams. And we've already seen a notable increase in online course participation thanks to the added convenience. And hopefully this will translate to more people being safe on our waterways. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to turn it back over to you.
Thank you, Director. Now we'll have Chief of the Wildlife Division, Joe Benedict.
Good morning, Commissioners. We'll try that again. Hope you're all having a good summer so far and enduring the heat. I know our staff are out in the heat all the time, and they're doing good things, but enduring the heat. So as the Director mentioned, we have 2 proclamations for your consideration and action today to address the changes, to revert back to the previous license types. So we're going to repeal and replace 2 different proclamations, the Wildlife Management Area Proclamation and then the Big Game Hunting Season Proclamation. We'll take those individually and ask for commission action on each one. The bottom line here is that we need to insert WMA-specific license types back into the proclamation. You'll recall that the request of the agency, the proposal was to get rid of several different specific WMA permits and combine them into a single WMA permit. Because of the license package being pulled, we have to go back and just add that language back in there. So again, as the Director said, there were no changes essentially for hunters from last year to this coming fall with the name of the permits and the costs, et cetera. And then finally, in the red line packets that you all received probably earlier this week, there's some minor clerical edits. Our general counsel and some others found some spacing and commas and other issues that you'll note in there. They're all indicated in red text. So I want to start with Proclamation 2509, the Wildlife Management Area, Public Hunting Area, and Refuges, Hunting Season Limits, and Miscellaneous Regulations. This is probably the busiest slide you're going to see today, but it's pretty straightforward. On page 2, under item C, we inserted the words there in bold. So it previously said a WMA permit is required. Now it says a WMA small game permit is required. We also added, at the request of the general counsel, the mention about the real foot preservation permit in this specific place. As a note here, the real foot preservation permit is required for anyone who is on Real Foot Lake. And so this was an addition just to provide double clarity, I guess you could say, in that section. And finally, you'll note the red line double strike through word or. That is what is in your proclamation now. And we need to take the word or out and replace it with and. So the real foot preservation permit is basically an access permit for that WMA. You also need the small game permit. So again, a minor change to what's actually in your red line packet. So in several locations in the proclamation, again, we took the word WMA permit and we changed that to read in several places WMA small game permit or WMA big game permit or WMA non-quota big game permit. Again, we had requested a simplicity to have one permit. We've got to revert back to the permits that are actually being sold currently in our license through our license vendor. And then finally, the other piece here, we have Tellico Lake, Percy Priest, and Wolf River WMAs that allow for field trials, sanctioned field trials. And the verbiage had to be basically, again, reverted back to the previous language. There was a piece in this license package requiring the participants on the WMAs to have a WMA permit. Again, that's been removed because we don't have a single WMA permit and the rule package did not go through. So the language for those 3 WMAs regarding field trials reverts back to what it was last year, in essence, no change from last year. So with that, we recommend passage of Proclamation 2509, WMA public hunting area and refuge hunting seasons, bag limits, and miscellaneous regulations.
Thank you, Joe. Do we have a motion and a second? Second? Do we have any members of the public that want to make a comment? Any commissioners?
One question, Chairman.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Joe, we've always had to have the real foot reservation permit and a license, correct?
Correct.
It's never been either or or or.
Correct.
We just had the or get in there. Was it just a
It was just a clerical error.
clear? Okay.
General counsel actually wanted us to add that specific phrase in the place in the proclamation where it is. It used to not be there. And so it was just a matter of clarification that in addition to the small game, the WMA small game permit, you would need that if applicable. So if you were on the property.
I got you. And how much is that real foot preservation permit? Does anybody know?
$14 per year
$14
for a resident, I guess. Or is that?
Yeah. Okay. 10-4. And that's what you were, director, was explaining to some of the folks down there. You use that for the spraying and different things that we utilize on real foot, right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
All right. Thank you, Joe, Chairman.
Any other commissioners? I guess we'll go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. Motion approved.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Moving on to the second and final proclamation we have for your consideration. Proclamation 25-10, the statewide big game hunting seasons and bag limits. And this is going to be a really long presentation here. We have a few words right there. We're going to add 2 words to the proclamation in paragraph 6. Again, just adding the words big game into the WMA permit name, I guess. And with that, we recommend passage of Proclamation 2510.
Is there a motion and a second?
Motion to approve.
Second? All those comments from the public? Are there any commissioners that have a comment? Okay, I guess we'll go to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Ayes have it. All right, thank you, Joe. All right. So we're now moving to the rulemaking hearing section of this agenda today. I'm the commission chair and will serve as the presiding officer for the rulemaking hearing. The Tennessee Fish and Wildlife Commission will be considering amendments to one rule. It is my understanding that this rule has been publicly noticed, consistent with applicable law. They have been filed with the Secretary of State's office and have been available on the public notice section of the agency's website. Agency staff have copies of the proposal and red line for anyone that would like a paper copy. The order of the proceeding will be as follows. Tennessee Wildlife Resources Agency staff will present information relative to the proposed rule change or new rule. I will recognize the agency staff member accordingly. Commission members will then be permitted to ask questions and provide comment on the proposed rule. Once the commission members have had the opportunity to speak, members of the public will be permitted to provide comment on the rule before the commission. All parties should identify themselves before speaking. As chair, I reserve the right to limit the comments and discussion, especially in cases of repetition. Generally, this will not be a question and answer session. Members of the public will have 3 minutes for their comment. After an opportunity for public comment, the commission will vote via roll call vote. With the order of proceedings established, I will now ask Frank Fiss, Deputy Director of Business Operations, to come forward for the first rule presentation. And there's Frank.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. Yeah, this rule amendment is in response to Public Chapter 214. It was passed in April of this year. Again, it removes the monitoring requirement and moves the fee requirements over into this rule. Will take it out of law and put it into this rule essentially. So it was passed as an emergency rule. It got through GovOps, and now it's back again to be a permanent rule. So with that, I'll give some details of the changes. And basically, we're just amending it to get the language specifics. There's some wordsmithing that went on in this rule, but basically they have to pass a National Association of Boating Law Administration test. And then they also will need to get a permit from us so that we can acknowledge that they took the test and give them the card and get them in our system. Also updates the price to $10. The replacement card, which is what is addressed in this piece of the rule, is still at $5. There was a section that allowed boat dealers to administer the exam or have a monitored exam at their dealerships. This program never really took off, so we're just taking this section out. And lastly, there was just some just an addition to the word education there to get that certificate defined correctly, and we got to get the date right to January 1 for 1989. People that are born before that are required to have the permit, but this section allows the course providers to issue them to people that might be younger or older than that want it just for their own certification for insurance purposes, perhaps. And with that, that's the end of the changes to the rule.
Thank you, Director Fiss. Do we have any members of the public that would like to comment? Members of the commission, do you have comments or questions? Commissioner Butt.
Can you go back about 3 slides? Nope, go back, go forward one. On the second part, purchase safety exam permit from any business that sells hunting and fishing. Isn't there a word missing there?
For any, as it reads with all the strike-throughs, it's purchase the boating safety exam permit for $10 from any licensing agent that sells hunting and fishing licenses, which includes TWA regional offices and the TWA online licensing portal.
All right. Is the red line, is that being added?
The underlined red is added. The black strike-throughs are deletions.
Okay, well, is license underlined?
Licensing agent is, and you're right, that licenses that's there should also be underlined, but it is an addition that will be in there.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Thanks for catching that.
Any other commissioners?
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Butt. Any other commissioners? Okay, Ms. Mary, would you call the roll, please?
Monty Blue,
Aye.
Brad Box,
Aye.
Stan Butt, Greg Davenport,
Aye.
Steve Jones,
Aye.
John McCarty, Rosemary McElhenney, Rhonda Moody, Haynes Torbett, Steve Johnson, Chris Devaney.
Aye.
All ayes.
Rule passes. Well, we're at the end of this meeting. Do we have any members of the public that would like to make any comments before we adjourn? Yes, sir. If you could just state your name and where you live, please.
My name is Fred Walker. I live in Maryville, Tennessee, but I also have a little house in the middle of North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area in Campbell County. And I guess I'm here as hopefully you all remember in March, I proposed a flintlock hunting season for the 3 weeks of January. And I'm here to see if anybody wants me to answer any questions. If you have any questions about what I proposed, I'm willing to try to answer. Would like to have communication or comment or discussions with anybody that's available to me to talk about it. And I have some information with me that I have gotten from the state of Pennsylvania about their flintlock season that they've had for over 50 years. I think I tried to email that to most of the commissioners. I don't know whether everybody got it, or I do have some paper copies if anybody wants one. If the new commissioner, I can give him a paper copy maybe. I just want conversation about my season. I'm also here kind of representing Campbell County Outdoor Recreation Association. I am the last original board of director for that organization, and we would kind of we're going to invite commissioners, maybe those that live close by, to the September 2nd Campbell County Outdoor Recreation Association meeting at the courthouse in Jacksboro at 7 o'clock. We will also be trying to invite local or any state representatives or senators there to the meeting to have a discussion about the flintlock season, maybe the hunting of bears, and probably there's usually ATV people there. But that's an open invitation. If somebody would please come, it would be appreciated. Willing to answer questions. I do have some Cora books. If anybody doesn't really know how North Cumberland Wildlife Management Area got to be formed, I have some books available. So have books, and I have information from Pennsylvania, and be willing to answer questions and meet with anybody to discuss it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tell me your name again.
Fred Walker.
So I was intrigued, and I'm new on here, and
Commissioner, if you could turn on your microphone, sorry.
But I was intrigued by your presentation. I think it was at Buffalo Ridge,
Yes.
wasn't it? I loved your
Yes.
guns. Appreciate your passion. You look like a very kind man. You got a great demeanor about you. And I think Monty and I even talked about it. And again, I'm new, so y'all can correct me. But it seems like you can hunt with your flint rifles at any time, right? Through rifle season.
Yes.
And it's more of to me, it came down to more of a marketing issue. I mean, you could in essence create your own little flintlock. Well, I won't call it a season, but a flintlock festival almost, and do it yourself. Am I wrong here, Jason? I mean, it's you can hunt with flintlocks at any time, and maybe we as a commissioner or the TWRA could help you form some type of marketing campaign for a flintlock. I don't want to call it a season because you can hunt it at there's already a season. But tell me if I'm wrong here, because I want to help you, and I love your passion for it, and I want to sell licenses. So anything we can do to help sell licenses would be great, and bring people down from Pennsylvania or North Carolina. Am I on the right path here?
Yes, close.
Okay.
My
me out.
real goal is not the season.
Okay.
This is just a key to start. My real goal is the education of the public about the history of Tennessee.
Okay.
And I can talk to you for hours about that,
No,
only where
I gotta
I've
get to
learned
work.
about it in the last year. And in the last few months since I gave my presentation, it's added many, many, many more hours of what I know about the state of Tennessee.
Yeah.
And that is my goal. It is not the season. The season is what will promote the education of the youth and the people of the state of Tennessee to what our forefathers went through to create this state.
Which leads me back to maybe like creating a convention, a flintlock convention or something that.
The season automatically promotes it. I didn't know any of this until I decided to purchase a flintlock. And that forced me almost to learn about the history of Tennessee. From the over mountain men at Sycamore Shoals heading over to Kings Mountain. I had been to Kings Mountain, but it didn't really sink in until I really learned the history that's behind it.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm after. I'm after education for the people of the state of Tennessee.
Mr. Chairman.
I think Vice Chairman Davenport and then Commissioner Butt.
No, go ahead,
All right.
Commissioner Butt.
Okay, go ahead,
Please.
Commissioner.
Mr. Walker, I spoke with you quite a bit at that meeting when we had an opportunity to visit. I've given this a lot of thought. And I lived in the area. I have dairy producers that I visit regularly in the area, Claiborne County next to Campbell. I had the opportunity to spend some time up Cumberland Gap. I lived in Blumpville for 5 years, so I'm very familiar with Sycamore Shoal, old state of Franklin. Even before that, it's rich with history from Davy Crockett and Daniel Boone and crossing the gap. So with the thought of the western part of our nation for hunters, trappers, and at the time for a rendezvous, then I think that the opportunity exists maybe for the association or for a civic group to declare a rendezvous along the lines and talk about the education and talk about the things associated with early development. I don't know if many people know about Nashville, but it was French Lick before it ever became Niceboro, and a rendezvous for a lot of trappers and hunters. So I think the responsibility is going to fall on you, or the opportunity to develop something similar to what Pennsylvania has. And you already said you have the season. So if you just declare whatever you want to call it as promotion, then I think many people would get behind it and you would draw from that. And, as far as the actual weapons that were being used, then I've kind of done a little research on that. It's an intriguing possibility, and it takes some research to find true flintlocks.
Yes, sir.
And so with that said, then I think with the history and with the association of weapons and gathering and education and all those, I think that the possibilities are there if you just get the right groups together and you can encourage some of your fellow Tennesseans that are interested in this to help with the promotion. So with that being said, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman,
Thank you, Commissioner.
go ahead.
Chairman Davenport.
Go ahead.
Order don't matter to me, Monty, but I'll go ahead and talk. First of all, I really appreciate your passion and interest and you making the trip and the time to come speak to us. And, our job is partly to serve the sportsmen and fishermen of Tennessee, amongst other things. One of the challenges we face as a commission is that I believe your suggestion had no blaze orange, or as we have now, blaze pink, for the season to be more traditional. And that would require legislative approval. And I think that there's some safety issues surrounding that would probably conflict with a lot of the safety procedures we have now that justify blaze orange. I mean, it is a bullet traveling at a high rate of speed. So I don't think that that's something the commission would be willing to push forward, is no blaze orange or blaze pink. And as you're aware, we did preserve the traditional nature of muzzleloader season this past season setting in April, in lieu of going to a more modern type firearm. And a lot of that was steeped in the tradition of Tennessee muzzleloading season. So I think that I would support what the two previous commissioners have said, that there's ample opportunity for the season to be utilized for your purpose. I don't think that you're going to be able to do it without some type of blaze orange or blaze pink as part of it, which limits somewhat the traditional nature of what you're proposing. And I think that that's where I stand with it. So I want to make sure you understand how I feel about it. And that's some of the challenges we face, that we are confined by the legislature in some of our decisions. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I get to
Yeah,
comment?
hey, commissioners, on the same lines of deer hunting, I would like to challenge this commission and the director to come up with a committee, a task force, whatever we want to name it, whatever we want to call it, to take a really deep dive and a close look at deer depredation in Tennessee. Deer depredation is a very hot topic right now in West Tennessee. We deal with it a lot. I've been in 2 different Farm Bureau agencies within the last week. It's been a hot topic. Things have come up in the Farm Bureau meetings, everything from adding money to license sales, and then we issue money back out to farmers who have damage, to district attorneys not prosecuting people and allowing farmers to kill whatever they want to kill on their own property, to, in Henry County, someone on a deer depredation pulling into a field, firing 30 rounds. One of the rounds went through the neighbor's house. The neighbor happened to be a friend of mine, missed his wife by 2 feet. They chose not to prosecute these individuals for a reckless endangerment type charge. TWA has discontinued that permit at this time due to firing 30 rounds and a round going through the window. But this committee, this agency proceeded so cautiously with coyote hunting at night that we would not do it with a rifle, but we could only allow it with shotguns, unless other circumstances existed. But we issue hundreds of deer depredation permits per year that allow you basically to go out day or night, shoot at night or day, and kill hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of deer across West Tennessee. The farmers are not happy, and I understand their side because they are experiencing thousands of dollars of damage due to crop damage from deer. And agriculture is tough right now, period. Notwithstanding the deer damage, but it's tough. The farmers aren't happy. You've got a lot of hunters that aren't happy. You've got a hunter that I talked to last week that saved most of his life and bought 50 acres, and he sits in between 1,000 and 1,500 acre tracts. And these 2 farmers own the 1,000, 1,500 acre tract. They're killing a substantial amount of deer off of those 2 properties. And then now he's not seen any deer on the 50 acre tract that he has saved 20 years of his life earnings for and bought. So he's not for depredation, but the farmers are for it because it's taking money out of their pocket, obviously. There's a lot of things that I know Joe's implemented a new reporting system this year. I know we haven't prosecuted very many people or found very many people in violation of depredation permits. But if we're going to be talking about safety, that is the number one thing. Hundreds of people shooting deer at night, day. For example, Henry County, a shot being fired through a window. I wish the agency would take a deep dive into this and look into it. I'm not saying what needs to be done. I'm not saying what doesn't need to be done, but it needs to be looked at from our agency. And killing more deer in January with a flintlock, another 2 weeks of deer hunting. If you want to let people hunt, we need to let them hunt. If it kills 50 deer, that's 50 more deer that are not going to be shot in June and July and lay in a ditch and rot. So we need to take a deep dive, and this is a critical issue that the agency needs to look at, from my opinion.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other questions for Mr. Ward?
I just want to say I do have a response to the 3 commissioners'
Yes, sir.
comments, and if they would like to talk with me after the meeting or whatever, I would appreciate it very much.
Okay. Thank you for traveling all this way.
Thank you.
And thank you again. Commissioner Ballou, thank you for your comments. We'll take that under advisement and talk to the director about that. Thank you very much. Any other commissioners? Okay, I think we've ended. Any other members of the public? I think we're at the end of the agenda for this short meeting. Do I have a motion to adjourn? The second. All those in favor say aye. Meeting adjourned.